If you thought Little House on the Prairie was just a sweet, wholesome story about pioneer life, think again. Behind the scenes, things were far from innocent. The show looked like a peaceful window into 19th century family life, but what went on when the cameras stopped rolling was anything but quiet. For example, while Laura Ingalls and Nellie Oleson were enemies on screen, their real-life friendship was strong, so strong that Nellie and her on-screen husband Percival, played by Steve Tracy, who was secretly gay, would often kiss passionately in front of Melissa Gilbert just to mess with her. It drove her crazy, especially since her own love scenes with Almanzo were more reserved. Then there was the drinking, lots of it. Cast and crew often drank so much that they named the most stressful days 3-case days. Michael Landon, the show's beloved star, was one of the biggest drinkers. According to Melissa Gilbert's memoir, he'd start the day with liquor in his coffee and keep drinking all day without most people even noticing, until it became obvious. And while his character often delivered Christian values, in real life, Landon was Jewish, born Eugene Morris Urowitz, with a Jewish father and Catholic mother. He believed in God but didn't follow a specific religion. His hair, another surprise, was dyed. Though it looked like perfect curls, it was carefully colored and often had to be corrected under studio lights when the dye turned purple. The show, while mostly cheerful, also didn't shy away from dark themes. It touched on serious issues like racism, addiction, and sexual assault, which few shows dared to do at the time. Off-screen family ties also came with drama. Jonathan Gilbert, who played Nellie's brother Willie, was actually Melissa Gilbert's adopted brother in real life, but the two fell out after the show ended, and haven't spoken since. He later left acting, earned a finance degree, and became a stockbroker in New York. So while Little House on the Prairie gave us warmth and charm on the screen, its real story was filled with secrets, heartbreak, and moments that never made it into the script. You might remember Little House on the Prairie as a sweet family show, but behind its warm smiles and prairie sunsets were real-life fights, heartbreaks, and secrets the cameras never caught. Melissa Gilbert, who played Laura, stayed in the spotlight long after the show ended. She even ran for Congress in 2016, though injuries from a past accident forced her to drop out. But her early years were full of drama. Her off-screen relationship with co-star Melissa Anderson, Mary, was icy at best. The two actresses couldn't stand each other, and their feud lasted for the entire 9 years of the series. Imagine growing up next to someone you secretly despised, day in and day out. Tensions on set weren't just between actors. Melissa's real-life adopted brother Jonathan Gilbert played her on-screen brother Willie, but later cut ties with her completely. As for the town of Walnut Grove, it wasn't just a TV setting, it was real. Laura Ingalls Wilder actually lived there in her childhood, and her stories were based on true struggles of pioneer life. Homesteading wasn't easy. Her family faced harsh winters, food shortages, and endless work just to survive. But from those hard days, Laura's beloved book series was born. The books became so popular that Ed Friendly quickly turned them into a TV show, which premiered in 1974. And though the show appeared charming, not everything was innocent. Melissa Gilbert once adored Michael Landon, who played her father on the show. After her real dad died when she was young, Landon became a father figure to her, saying he loved her like a daughter. But when he divorced his wife to be with a younger woman on set, Melissa felt shattered. Her trust in him broke, reminding her of the pain she felt when her own family split. So while Little House on the Prairie warmed hearts across America, the real story behind it was full of silent feuds, broken bonds, and deep emotional scars that no episode ever showed. You might think the world of Little House on the Prairie was all hugs and happy endings, but behind those prairie smiles were feuds, awkward moments, and wild pranks that could rival any drama. Melissa Gilbert once adored Michael Landon like a real father, but when he left his wife for a younger woman on set, Melissa was so upset she stopped talking to him completely. Still, when Michael was diagnosed with cancer, she forgave him, and later even named her son Michael in his memory. While the characters Laura and Nellie were enemies on screen, in real life, Melissa Gilbert and Allison Arngrim were best friends, having sleepovers and pulling silly pranks together. Their friendship was so strong, it's hard to believe how convincing their fights were on screen. But not all friendships on set were as sweet. Melissa Gilbert and Melissa Sue Anderson, who played sisters Laura and Mary, secretly couldn't stand each other. Their feud was so intense that no one wanted to be around them when the cameras weren't rolling, and they never made peace, even years later. In her memoir, Melissa Gilbert described Melissa Sue as cold and bratty, but we never heard the other side of the story. And then there were the awkward moments, like when 15-year-old Melissa Gilbert had to kiss 23-year-old Dean Butler on screen. It was not only her first on-screen kiss, it was her first kiss ever, and she was so nervous that Michael Landon had to step in and ask the producers to change the scene to a simple kiss on the cheek. Still, her friends teased her about it, especially Allison Arngrim and Steve Tracy, who played Nellie and her husband Percival. They faked over-the-top kissing scenes just to mess with her, even though Steve Tracy was gay and not interested in women at all. Despite these behind-the-scenes rivalries and embarrassing moments, the cast also shared plenty of laughs. Michael Landon was famous for pulling practical jokes, and Melissa and Allison quickly picked up on his playful tricks, adding fun to the long days on set. So while Little House may have looked like a peaceful escape, the real stories behind it were full of tension, forgiveness, and unforgettable mischief. You might think everything on Little House on the Prairie was perfect, but the truth is, behind the camera and even on screen, the show was full of wild surprises, funny mistakes, and strange moments that fans are still talking about. In one intense train scene, instead of a person, a dummy was thrown off and landed stiffly in the grass, while the real stuntman rolled down the hill past it, making the moment look hilariously fake. And while the show had serious moments, the set was often full of mischief, especially thanks to Michael Landon, who loved practical jokes. Rachel Greenbush, who played little Carrie Ingalls, once shared how she and Melissa Gilbert would catch frogs during breaks and surprise Landon with them, only for him to sneakily put one in his mouth and shock the crew by letting it jump out. But the show also had plenty of weird mistakes. In some scenes, branches outside a window wave in the wind, even though no trees are ever shown near the house. A family quilt somehow appears in different homes across episodes, clearly reused for convenience. And while the show was supposed to be set in the 1800s, some characters wore modern clothes like bras, which didn't exist until the 1900s, or had 1970s style perms. There were even bigger mix-ups, like Albert's storyline. One episode hints that he died, while another claims he became a doctor in Walnut Grove. A fan once told Melissa Gilbert about this, and she jokingly said maybe Albert died and came back as a zombie doctor. The strangest of all might be the show's finale, The Last Farewell, which takes place in 1901, 14 years after earlier events, but somehow nobody has aged. Kids like Carrie and Cassandra still look young, and the adults appear unchanged. Even though real-life Charles Ingalls died in 1902, it felt like time stood still. And before all the fame, Michael Landon himself had a tough beginning. He was born Eugene Maurice Horowitz in New York in 1936, and grew up in New Jersey, where he celebrated his bar mitzvah, and began a journey that would lead to unforgettable stories, both on and off screen. You might think Michael Landon had it all: fame, fortune, and a beloved TV career. But his childhood was filled with heartbreaking struggles that few ever knew. As a boy, Landon lived in fear, constantly watching over his mother, who often tried to take her own life. On one terrifying beach trip, she even tried to drown herself, and young Landon had to save her. The stress from this emotional trauma led him to a painful issue: bedwetting. And instead of helping him, his mother humiliated him by hanging his wet sheets outside for everyone to see. A fact shared in the book Michael Landon, His Triumph and Tragedy. But years later, this same boy would become the richest star from Little House on the Prairie. Though his net worth was just $1 million at the time of his death in 1991, Landon left a massive legacy behind, giving between $8 million and $10 million to each of his 9 children, ensuring peace among them even after he was gone. His son Michael Landon Jr. went on to become a successful producer and director, carrying on the family name in Hollywood. Other stars from the show didn't do nearly as well. Karen Grassel, who played Caroline Ingalls, had a few other roles after Little House but never found the same success, and today her net worth is around $500,000. Melissa Gilbert, who played Laura, also has a net worth of $500,000. She once ran for Congress in Michigan, but had to end her campaign due to health problems. Lindsay and Sydney Greenbush, who shared the role of Carrie Ingalls, are now reportedly worth between $1 million and $5 million together, but none of them reach the financial heights of Michael Landon, whose legacy and fortune still stand far above the rest. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and check out another surprising Little House story before you go.